How's it going, you guys? It's Scott with Everyday Home Repairs. Now, I'm just kicking off a 12 by 16 modern shed design, which has a lean-to single slope roof. And this is a perfect opportunity to walk through and point out the 5 most common mistakes that most DIY homeowners will make when framing their shed. Now, we'll quickly go through each of those points while framing up this shed to help you reduce the amount of trips to Home Depot, save time, and most importantly, save money on your own build around your house. And in addition, we have a ton more resources for building your own shed. They're gonna give you the confidence and step-by-step instructions to take this on at your own home. So let's jump into it with mistake number 1, which really starts right at our foundation. So when it comes to your foundation, this is really the starting point. You wanna spend some extra time here. A lot of people get a little excited with their build. They just start slapping together maybe their back wall, really before checking their foundation and having a good plan of attack, and specifically making sure it's level, completely level. And any mistake that you have at your foundation, once you build those walls up, it just really starts to magnify and extend out your error that you have at your foundation up into your walls, and it makes the whole shed build more difficult and not the result you want. So this is your best option, concrete pad. This is a 4-inch pad. It took 105 bags of Quikrete. I poured it in 2 phases with a metal keyway in the middle. It took some time. It's gonna cost you quite a bit. You don't have to go this route, but independent on which route you go, you might go with the cheapest or the good option, which is just concrete blocks positioned underneath a wood floor structure, or a packed gravel foundation. That's very popular, where you get the packed gravel all leveled out. Either way, you're gonna wanna check side to side to make sure that you're level. So here I'm using a 16-foot long 2x4 on edge, placing it down, making sure there's no gaps underneath, and then using my 4-foot level to make sure my bubble is right in the middle. Now, if you have a concrete pad and you're checking it and it's not level, then okay, that's gonna be a little harder to adjust. You might be shimming or trying to grind down the surface. But if you do concrete block or gravel, you can make those fine adjustments pretty easily to make sure every side and in the middle, everything is level. So when you start building your floor structure, if you're doing concrete block or you're doing the packed gravel, that is sitting on a nice level foundation, and then that's just gonna help you that much more with the rest of your build. Now, one tip is you can get very cheap laser levels. That's what I did here to go out at night in low light conditions so I can easily see the laser line on my tape measure and just check your different points of your foundation, writing down the measurements so you can compare those, seeing how far out are you and what adjustments do you have to make. Then you can just make those adjustments the next day. You could write each one of the measurements on the concrete blocks and then make those adjustments with the concrete blocks the next day if you're finding it a little hard to get accurate results with your bubble level and extending out your boards. Now, if you're completely new when it comes to your options for storage sheds and it's a little overwhelming, don't worry. We actually put together a complete buyer's guide for DIY homeowners, and you'll see a link in the description, or this QR code right here will get you there. Just provide your email and we'll deliver the PDF in your inbox for free. Now, what this guide does is starts walking you through all the options, starting with cheap metal storage sheds all the way up to DIY wood, and also if you want to buy a pre-built. And these QR codes will get you links over to the corresponding information and examples of those products. And then when we were talking about the foundations, kind of that good concrete block, better compact gravel, or best concrete pour pad, these QR codes will get you to a complete step-by-step how-to video on Everyday Home Repairs and our other channel, Everyday Shed. Then in addition, we walk through multiple different material lists and designs for floors, because if you're doing the concrete block or if you're doing your packed gravel foundation, you're gonna need to go ahead and frame yourself a 2x6 pressure treated floor, and then also put some subfloor on there with some pressure treated plywood. And then I'll also include some links below the video to some of our free build plans for specific wood sheds, just in case that's the size you're looking for your own build. So number 2 associates to an incorrect assumption a lot of us homeowners make. I'm gonna lay out my first wall here. I have my pressure treated bottom plate and I have a regular top plate. Both of these boards are 2x4s and 16 feet long. But if I just start laying everything out, assuming they're exactly 16 feet, because that will match my exact dimension of my 12 by 16 shed, that is an incorrect assumption, and it's gonna throw off your walls. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I have both the top and bottom plate perfectly aligned on that end. And let's go ahead and check our measurement. So 16 feet would be at my 192. I am actually 1.5 inches long on my pressure treated and about 1.25 inches long on my standard dimensional lumber. So what you need to remember, even when you buy a 16-foot board, you need to cut these to make sure you're not throwing your walls off, and always double checking your dimensions. Now with 16 feet marked on my bottom and top plate, I'll go ahead and trim those off to length and mark all of my studs 16 inch on center. For the 16-foot wall, that'd be 13 studs. Now before you jump in and start cutting all of your wall studs, you want to look out for common mistake number 3, which is miscalculating the actual dimensions you need for your wall stud. What you need to remember is we're going to have a bottom plate, pressure treated, and that's 1.5 inches wide. We're going to have a top plate, another 1.5 inches wide that you need to account for. But most of our designs, and we do recommend that you use a double top plate. That's going to strengthen your overall design. So you need to account for all of those in your overall desired height so you go ahead and cut your wall studs correctly. So now starting to frame together that back wall, which is 16 foot wide and 8 foot tall, but this brings us to common mistake number 4, and that's not making a plan for all of your walls. And also you might have a wall that's extremely heavy and you have to have a safe plan to get that up into place and make sure you can plumb it. Here, this 16 foot wide and 8 foot tall wall without any T111 siding is something I can handle, get into place by myself. I use those clamps to get to the outside edge, and then I already had my braces in place that I secured to the concrete. Now the sidewalls are more of the same. I want to work on my flat platform as much as possible, but I'll go ahead and get these together and take them off the pad so I clear off the pad for that front wall. Now the front wall in this case is going to be by far the most complex and by far the heaviest. So if this is going to be a one-man operation, you need to make plans because this is going to be way harder to get up into place compared to that back wall. And that's because things like this, I'm ripping 2 half-inch sheets of plywood that will sandwich between these 2x6s to create the top header. Now I need a header all the way across that front 16-foot wall because I'm going to have 4 transom windows at the top providing a lot of light coming into the shed, but you got to have a lot more structure when you have those windows right below, so you're not just going to be doing 2x4 16-inch on center. So I'll start filling in the 2x4s that kind of frame out the 36-inch opening for each of my transoms. But you can start to see this is a 10-foot wall, so it's 2 foot taller. I have a header at the top. I now have a header here for the door. This is going to be a standard door, but I did rough it in for a 72x80 opening. So in the future, I can do a French door or a sliding glass door and kind of upgrade this shed from just a standard shed. And I usually use nails, but here in some of these tight spaces, that's when screws can come in pretty darn handy, just allowing you to get everything secure without having to have much experience toenailing and getting those nails to sink in securely while holding your framing member exactly where you want it. Now to lift this wall, I have to call in some reinforcements with this wall jack. And you'll see a link in the description, or this QR code will bring you over to the wall jack. But be careful. I had to put ratchet straps on this just to make sure it doesn't kick out. This wall is probably 300 pounds, give or take. You need to be extremely careful if you're doing this by yourself. I have the 2x4s on the front side so the wall doesn't go off the pad. And you want to just stay out of the area where the wall can fall on you as much as possible. Eventually, you're going to have to kind of get in there, but you need to be very, very, very careful when you're taking this on by yourself. And just take your time, have your tools in place, have your braces in place, and try to secure that as soon as possible when you have it plumb. So I just brought my sidewalls in and started to bring it all together. And here's where common mistake 5 comes in. Instead of just putting one corner together and then taking your nail gun and starting to sink a bunch of nails in that corner because you think that's plumb, I would just do a few screws. Then that's going to give you the ability to fine adjust, undo that corner if you need to make adjustments, and work your way all the way around using clamps, pulling things together, double check, undoing, redoing. As a DIYer, you haven't done this a ton of times, so having the screws in there and not just sinking a bunch of nails that you're going to have to cut out with a Sawzall if you need to redo it is going to be beneficial and give you a little bit more leeway in getting everything right. And also, we have a really cool opportunity coming up. If you have a ton of tools and you've always thought, how do you put your DIY skills to work as possibly a side hustle or even starting your own business, we are jumping deep into building sheds. That's kicking off in just a couple weeks. We're going to bring together a community complete with a course, weekly live sessions where we all grow together and we help you build that business where you can make, not guaranteed, but you can make $1,000 a day building simple, solid sheds. So you'll see a link in the description. You can sign up for the wait list, as we will only be accepting 30 people into kind of the founder group of our shed building course. Now, if you want to check out a few other videos that will give you some information on sheds, one, you can check out this right here where I actually used an airboat pushed over 100-mile-per-hour wind to see, can metal and plastic sheds actually hold up to a windstorm? Or if you're thinking a kit might be an option, I put together an 8x12 from Home Depot, and I'll give you the pros and cons as I built that out at my last property. So thanks for joining me on this video, and we'll catch you on one of those next ones. Take care.